We will start in 2 minutes. We have some more people joining in. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. My name is Deacon Danny, and on behalf of i4C, we would like to welcome you all to our Gyaan Class 2021 series of webinars. There have been 5 episodes over the last 5 weeks, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. These webinars have focused on the startup journey. Today, we culminate our journey here with our last and final webinar on the importance of mentorship in the journey of a startup. A bit about i4C. i4C continually focuses on student innovation, entrepreneurship, and seeks to solve the question of what comes next for a student in his or her journey. With successful events like Smart India Hackathon, Smart School Hackathon, Gyaan Hacks, and now Gyaan Class, we constantly endeavor to bring you the best platforms to tune your knowledge levels. We would like to thank Bootstart Co-working for powering this event through their channels and network. Bootstart is a premium co-working player based in Pune with 13 locations in Pune and 17 locations all across the country. They have quite a large presence. They offer amazing value for money services for clients who choose to work out of their spaces. A few ground rules. Please mute at all times. For any questions on the Zoom platform where we are right now, please ask in the chat box. For any questions while accessing through our YouTube, please ask in the comments section, and we will endeavor to answer all the questions in the restricted time frame that we have today. Now, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce our speaker for the day. In his own words, Darshan Doshi has this to say: I work with early stage founders and investors, and I'm currently building a community of creators at www.dasar.in. Over the past few years, I have been fortunate to have worked with 100+ founders in various roles at Reliance Jio GenNext, Vadvani Foundation, and Flame University. I'm currently working with a stellar team at Adeption, one of the most innovative learning and development SaaS products that is loved and used by thousands of leaders and professionals across the world. At Flame University, I am building a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem that nurtures and supports entrepreneurs of all kinds. I've recently launched a 1-year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship and innovation in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic with some amazing and bold participants and the support of our partners. As an advisory board member at Babson Collaborative, I am enabling member institutions around the globe to create a strong entrepreneurship education ecosystem. At Niti Aayog, AIM, Vadvani Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Venture Fast Track Program, I am advising and guiding numerous startup incubator CEOs across India in the super mentor role. Thank you so much for being here, Darshan. We really appreciate having you here for our final session, because this, according to me, is probably our most important session, which is on the role of mentorship. And I think who better than you? So we really appreciate having you here, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Deacon. Thank you, Bootstart and i4C. It's an absolute honor to be here. And thank you for the lovely introduction as well. Guys, if you can switch on your videos, that'll be great. I'd really appreciate this session to be as interactive as possible. Yes, you can use chat. You can ask as many questions as you would like. But I'm here for you. I'm here this 1 hour or just over an hour that we have. I want to be useful to you, right? And so I can't be useful if you are not engaged, right? So I would love to get you guys to be engaged with me. I'm going to share my screen. So you just, I can walk you through. I can walk you through a quick presentation, but it's not supposed to be comprehensive. Okay. So very quickly, we're going to talk about mentors and how mentors can help us. When to engage with them, why to engage with them, how to effectively engage with them, and get the benefit for your own self, right? I think we are all very selfish in different ways, and it's okay to be selfish. It's okay if we want to improve ourselves, because if we improve ourselves, our startups will do better and thereby be better for the society, right? So I think there is a good part of selfishness that could be there, which we could utilize. So very quickly, who am I? He gave a quick overview of my professional career, but I'm really born and brought up in Pune, had the chance and opportunity to travel around the world, spend some time in different parts of the world. I love adventure sports. I love to write. I love to podcast, and I love to create. There is nothing more fulfilling for me than creating something from the ground up, right? And so that is what I aspire to do. And then I'm trying to help people with regards to their business, with regards to their career, with regards to their fitness, their money at Dasar, right? So this is a new initiative born out of COVID lockdown. And so this is something that I have created, and you'll find a bunch of people who I have podcasted with, who created some fantastic startups, but really understand from them how they think, how they approach, and you'll get some good insights out of there as well. So before we get started, I'd love to learn from you. Why do founders, or why does anyone need a mentor or mentors? If you can just answer that in the chat box, I'd really appreciate, so that I get an understanding of where you're coming from as well. Why do you guys need mentors? What are you hoping to get from mentors? Why engage? To point in the right direction. Awesome. Okay. What about the others? To have a clear path. Okay. Clarity seems to be the theme. Need experiences from other. There's a lot that we can learn from others' experiences. The right mindset. We can save time. Obviously, being efficient, being effective, have a systematic approach. Thanks, Shivangi, for that. To share experiences, to show the bigger picture. I think that's a very important one. Maybe another couple of answers before I can share some of my own thoughts as well. Anything else that we want from our mentors and advisors? Okay, thanks for participating and sharing, a chance to be more successful. And success is different for everyone. To provide feedback, incredible, right? And so this is what I kind of came up with. Okay, I am very fortunate. I have my own set of mentors, advisors, and coaches. And in this, in the following slides, I'm going to also decouple what these 3-4 roles are, right? But essentially, the role, what I think, is to unlock potential. It's a very heavy word. It's a heavily used word as well. हाँ, potential है, हाँ, और करना है, but करे कैसे, right? And that's where opportunity, action, and insight comes to in kind of a melting pot, right? Where you have these three come together, you have magic. And so a mentor can provide specific advice. A mentor can guide you through a particular situation. A person can free your mind. If I'm a big fan of the Matrix trilogy, if you remember the Matrix, you have Morpheus, who mentors Neo, who didn't even know he was the one, to be able to, be the savior, so to say, right? And so that's an exaggeration, but it points in the right direction. If you take a look at many of our athletes, right, Nadal, Federer, Michael Schumacher, many people, Michael Jordan, many of you might have watched his Netflix series, The Last Dance. And you'll find that many of these guys have the hunger, have the talent, but they need some sort of mentor who will push them to their limits, who will guide them through the process, who will create situations to unlock your potential within you, which you didn't think you had, right? Think big. I think someone answered that. It also is a big part of questioning your assumptions and beliefs. How big do you think could also be a function of what your beliefs are. And so you have to go to the root cause of this to be able to figure out, right? And so confidence, a lot of the mentors, advisors will be like a mirror and say, you think you've not done something, but it seems to me you've done something already. You made progress. So why are you mentally, are you telling yourself a different story than what the reality is, right? So there is also maybe a tendency for us to pull ourselves back, or some of family and friends to pull us back, right, and give a reality check, and that is also needed. But we need someone to equally pull us up to think big, right? Maybe they also do connects and intros. This is where it probably gets a little bit more transactional. Be a cheerleader, be a person in your corner. I'm there with you. I know you're going through a tough time. I know you failed. I know you succeeded. I know you raised investment. I know your product development or your product roadmap is not meeting its deadlines, but I am there with you and we are going to go through this journey together. I think is a very, very important thing. And then there are a few others that you guys mentioned as well, right? So uh, another part of this is, when should you engage with mentors, right? And for how long do you engage with a mentor or a set of mentors, right? So when do you engage? When you have some sort of clarity in terms of what you want to do, and you've made up your mind. And so I'll take a simple example, my own example. I decided to lose weight and get fit, right? And so this was about 18 months ago. And I found myself a coach, right? I found myself home equipment, body weight exercises for the first 3 months, then bought a bunch of equipment from Champion Sports, from Decathlon, to the point where now I've made a home gym. And in all my journey, I have a coach, right? Now, the coach is hand holding me. He is my trainer and he guides me through the process of getting fit, right? And so we achieved the first goal of just getting fit, lost weight in the process, and then created a new goal: want to run 10K, want to run 21K, want to become even more fit, right? Reduce further body fat, add more muscles, right? So your goals kind of keep improving over a period of time, but it has to be where me, the person, has to seek out a mentor or a coach or an advisor. And I'm going to decouple these things in this session as well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions, share your thoughts, comments in the chat section. Yeah, be with me on this one. How long should you engage with a mentor? I have seen examples where mentors have been there only for one particular problem, which could be as less as one conversation, right? There are times when we need a much more deep dive, much more engaged conversation, where I'm working with a startup founder, and we touch base 2 times a week, almost 2 to 3 times a week. We spend about half an hour, 45 minutes each time. And I'm just with her in this journey. She still has to execute. She still does the execution because it's her baby, it's her startup, right? I'm not a team member. I'm not someone who's coming in an executionary role, but I'm working with the founder to help figure out stuff where there could be, a lot of uncertainty, where there could be lack of clarity, where there could be, I just don't know what I don't know, right? So how do I discover that? And so, when should you engage with a mentor? When you know what you don't know, or when you know what help you need. But engaging with a mentor before you are committed to whatever it is, right, that you are aiming to do, will result in losing relationships and credibility. Okay, so there is one caveat to this as well. Suppose you say, I want to get fit, right? It's again a very simple example which most people aspire to get fit. But if you're not going to put in 3 hours per week, every alternate day to exercise, right? Do the hard work, and you're mentally there, physically there, and committed to it, right? Then don't engage with a mentor, because what will happen is it becomes a dream. Okay, it becomes a aspirational goal, right? I want to start a startup, but have you started? Have you done something about it? Have you talked to at least 200 people about that idea from a prospective customer base? Have you started building? Have you started gathering the resources? Or are you kind of stuck saying, no, I just need the money and then I'll start? Maybe you are not ready. Maybe you just need one conversation with someone who will tell you that money is not the answer, right? Money can help you, but money is not the answer in this case, right? So I think getting that clarity on what is it that you want, and how this person can help, who is this person who can help, is also we will talk about, right? So how many mentors should a startup have? Well, you can have a few mentors. What I have found is you can have anywhere from just one mentor to over 10 mentors, right? And these are mentors in a non-formal or an informal capacity as well, right? So, for example, you are figuring out how do I build my brand, right? And but then you've not raised investment. You have a limitation in terms of how much money or your ability to engage with some of the best designers in the world or in the country. And so in that case, what do? You can talk to people who you admire, a startup who is who is in a similar stage, but has not raised money, or has just raised money, but has consistently created a good brand and a positioning, and has done things that kind of work for that startup, right? And so you can, that person suddenly becomes your mentor, and you can say, well, how did you figure out, right? What did you do? And so so it can be a simple thing like this, right? Or it could be a person who has multiple expertise, someone who also understands branding, but also understands and has built a business, has built multiple businesses, has failed in multiple businesses, has raised investment, has made investments, so you're trying to get experiences and expertise when the person who you're talking to has gone through the journey of where you are today, right? Ideally, what I believe is you should talk to people who are 2 steps ahead of you. What happens with that is they've gone through this journey recently, and so they know how they have solved the problem recently, and so it's pretty fresh, and they can bring in and connect with you much more easily, right? And you can connect and get some benefit out of it. Now, mind you, the variables are different, right? It may be a different business, maybe a different geography, maybe a different time. All of those are there. So you have to be very careful in terms of how you take that advice that is there, right? So, so how many mentors should you have? You can have any number of mentors as long as you have clarity. What is it that you want out of it, out of that mentorship? And are you clearly communicating with that mentor, also saying, this is what it is, right? This is what I want. Are you able to articulate that, this is the situation, this is the context, this is the problem. Now, what do you think about it? And then you take that as one point of view into your decision making, right? I think the people here would be wise enough to know that just because someone said to do it this way, it doesn't guarantee success or results or outcome, right? And so you have to take the ownership and the responsibility of the decision that you make, right? I think that is another part about mentorship, that you're going to them with a point of view to get another perspective, right? It's not the golden rule, it's not a magic wand, right? So I think you need to keep that in perspective as well. Who is responsible to make mentorship work? Now, in my experience, and I've seen a few hundred startups go through various accelerator programs that I have put together, whether that was at Reliance's GeoGen Next, whether it was at Vadvani Foundation, whether it was at Flame University. In all of these situations, you, the seeker of mentorship, is responsible to make the mentorship work. Why? Because you have more skin in the game, and you have to call a spade, right? What is it that you want? You want some things from me, for example, right? And I have my own life, I have my own time limitations, I have my own aspirations, and I have my own agendas, right? And so I'm running it to the best of my abilities. And if you are coming to me, I want to be helpful, I genuinely do, but everybody has only 24 hours, and everybody has their own goals and aspirations, right? So the person who you are seeking to take mentorship from is someone you probably most likely admire or who you want to be, right? So you have to then also understand that what does this person want? This person must be good at it, at whatever he or she does. And so they must not be just sitting idle waiting for you to kind of provide mentorship, right? And so in that case, what do? You have to really make it a point and earn your way to be able to get that time and that mentorship from this person, right? A lot of the accelerator programs, incubator programs are great because they have figured out how they can bring such experts or people with experiences to startups almost at a free of cost or some cost basis, right? Should it be free of cost? Should there be a paid model? Should there be equity? I know there are startups who've given equity against mentorship, against advisory. I think it's a subjective one. I stand on the point where equity, even if the mentor, advisor, whoever consultant is working with you, you should either compensate from a money standpoint, or you should ask the person to invest in you when the round comes up, right? Or invest in your company. Providing equity without tangible outcome is something that needs to be revisited, right? I know I've seen a few startups who've been taken for a ride by saying, I'll do this, I'll do that, and upfront you sign an agreement. So I think be careful on those. But at the same time, most of the mentors, advisors are not like that, right? I think most people are looking genuinely to help and be a part of the journey. And so who gets what is a very important part to think about. But clearly the responsibility of someone who has to make the mentorship work has to rely on you, the seeker. You want something, and so make it explicit, make it clear, be humble, ask what you want, allow the person to say no, allow the person to come back to you, allow or reach out to this person and say, is this of interest to you? And so, how much time can they commit? to your cause, right? So I think that is something that you have to think about. But first, the difference in the roles. What does a mentor do? A mentor is a pretty broad topic. Okay, a mentor is anyone who guides you, who may question you, and the level of engagement can be one conversation or it can be ongoing for a very, very long time. An advisor, I always suggest startups to build an advisory group, build a board of advisors. Why? Because what advisors can do is, it's not a heavy engagement. You connect with them once a month or once every 3 months, but they are someone who are established, who have either the functional expertise, which could be knowledge on investments, knowledge on hiring, knowledge on building a differentiated product, or any of the other functions that might be there. Or an advisor could be someone who brings in strategic thinking. This is what this space is doing. Here, what are the competitors are doing. So maybe you want to think about this, right? So they may just ask some very specific questions. An advisor provides advice, and advice tends to be very, very specific, right? So you have to articulate that question again and again. So you're going to get an answer to your question. The person is not going to know what context you are coming from. All the things that are happening in your head and in your life, but the person in front of you does not know many of those things, most of those things. So it is your responsibility to ask a question, and then that person is going to answer that question. So you have to make sure that you really worked upon that question when you are seeking advice, right? Or set of questions. It is your responsibility to provide the context. Hey, just reiterating, this is what we talked about last time, or this is what I'm doing, this is the context, here is what I need help with, right? I think is very, very crucial to think about. A coach, do you want a mentor, do you want an advisor, or do you want a coach? A coach is someone who is hand holding you, right? Is very goal oriented, has a lot more skin in the game. Most business executives have their own coaches as well. Some of the best people I know have their own coaches as well, right? And so there is nothing wrong with it. It's a deep engagement, it's an ongoing engagement. And so kind of be very clear, do you want a coach or do you want a mentor or an advisor, right? And lastly, a consultant. Your consultant is someone who has very specific expertise and actually may even help you execute. So for example, digital marketing. I have no idea about digital marketing. I have no idea about branding. I have this much resources. I have this much money or this much time or this people. So can you help me bring online presence whereby I'm just doing the basics of it? I need to create a website. Can you help me build a website? Right? So a consultant can be very, very execution oriented, or it can be just providing advice again, right? So it can be, oh, go do this research and come back. Now, I don't believe that a founder should ever outsource basic research about the business, but many people seem to be doing it today. What are the mentorship areas, right? Where mentors can add value? Strategic thinking. I think that is by far the biggest thing. But how do you realize, what I've also seen a lot of startup founders do is, they have conversations and they get insights, but they are not able to recall who helped them figure out that insight. Okay. So maintain a journal. Okay. Whenever you are talking to your mentors, maintain a journal and write down what is the insight that you got from that conversation. What was the action items that you're going to follow up after that conversation? I have a template for it. I've put it on Dasar. If you sign up on Dasar, there is a very specific, how do you run effective meetings, which can even be used for your mentor meetings, right? A very, very structured way of, just documenting. Because if you just absorb, even in this case, right, you're going through this session, we are having this conversation. And what insights are you getting? Are you jotting them down? Are you putting an action item against it? Is very, very crucial for you to think to. And then the recall part, this person, I had a conversation with this person, and this person helped me realize this is important. I actually don't need to raise $1 million. I need to raise only $300,000, right? And so going back to that person and saying, yes, what you said, I actually arrived at a decision, and you helped me with that decision. A lot of the mentors are helping you to get you to this point. And so it is also your responsibility to go back to them and say, what you said made sense to me, or it did not make sense to me. And so you should give feedback nonetheless. Drop a note, right? Be kind. If that person has shared spent time helping you, the least you can do is to kind of come back and provide a feedback and provide an update and say, I took your points into consideration, and this is my decision, and I'll keep you posted. Or I don't agree with this, but I respect your point of view, and this is why I don't agree with it, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, either way is okay, but it will show a lot of sign of maturity, and you will really build on that relationship with that mentor. That mentor will appreciate you a lot more if you do these basic things, follow-ups. Time and time again, I just don't see people following up. Okay, they'll reach out to me, and I spend most of my Saturdays and Sundays talking to startup founders, guiding them, right? And what I'll find is they'll come when they need something, but then the next time you'll hear is probably 4 months or 3 months later. बीच में कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है, right? And so, and then at that point, the expectation is, okay, you provide and be available for me. Why should the mentor be available for you? What does this person owe you to help you, right? So that is something you have to build a relationship. It can't be extremely transactional and opportunistic in nature. Okay, so please keep that in mind. It's a very important thing. If you are looking to build a business, you need good people around you. And so, even in the old age, centuries ago, kings also had councils who they went to talk to, right? So I think we can be humble, and we can say, okay, help me out, right? Like I said, the second part where mentorship helps is functions. Personal guidance is the third one. So I am, being a startup founder is a stressful role. And so a lot of uncertainties come up, a lot of fears come up, a lot of anxieties come up. And so maybe a mentor could be someone who helps you manage your personal life and how you deal with it, right? And some of the best founders are working and have created other founders group. In many of the accelerator and incubator programs I've run, I've found that the founders who have come together in the cohort, they form such deep friendships, and there is so much value in there which they carry on for their lifetime. Because when you are in a tough journey and you see another person also in that tough journey, you can share. There are a lot of experiences, feelings that you can express and get feedback on and get reinforcement on as well. So it becomes a good support system for many founders as well. And then lastly, mentorship can be stage focused. Expecting a mentor to be with you through your life of your startup may not be the right way to look at it. It could happen, but person can provide expertise, say, to help you through your seed stage. And then once you get there, then you hand it over to someone, you identify a new mentor who will help you with it. Recently, Milkha Singh passed away, but if you watch the movie Bhag Milkha Bhag, you'll find that he had a mentor who helped him in his initial stage. And then he had the India coach who helped him through the stage, right? And so in startups also, it's similar. Maybe in our personal life also, it's similar, where we outgrow the mentor's expertise and guidance. And that's okay. I think a wise mentor would know that as well. And so you have to then look for the next stage mentor to help you out, right? So having that kind of clarity is very, very important. Finding the right mentors. How do you find the right mentors? You want, leaving aside the person is someone who you admire and who you've done some due diligence on. You want to see and get a values match. Does this person behave in a way that I would behave or I would like to behave? Okay, I think that is very, very important, at least from my point of view. Second is vision. Is there an alignment on the vision of the topic? So whether it is my personal growth or my startup's growth, is there an alignment on the vision on how big this should be, or what space should we operate on, or how we should operate, right? I think that is very, very important. And third, uh, the person should help you fill gaps, right? So it can be identifying those gaps and then you go fill it yourself, or just fill gaps from a mindset standpoint, right? And I think there's huge value in it. A lot of it gets discounted because it's not tangible, but it kind of changes the trajectory of the founder and the business. And then someone who brings an alternate perspective, right? Brings in different points of view, who challenges you, who you respect enough to where the person can say, boss, you're wrong. I don't think you're thinking in the right way. I think you're going in absolutely the wrong direction. Okay, so someone who you trust, whose judgment you trust, and who you respect, who you will not disregard, right? Who you will say, okay, this person has said this, means uske piche kuch to rahega, right? There is some weight behind it, and so let me think about it again. Let me go back and evaluate how I was critically thinking about it. And then who gets what? I have kind of spoken a little bit about this. What do you want? Do you know? Can you write it on a piece of paper? I make it a habit, I tell all the founders who I kind of work with, I tell them, create a one pager, right? Tell me what is it that you want? What is it that I want? And I'll share my own thoughts on it, right? As well. Have a very clear discussion around the bandwidth and the commitment of the person. So how much time do you want this person to help you? Are you reasonable in your expectations? And then have the conversation and say, and then ask this person, will this person be there, and how often will this person be there, and for how long, right? What is expected out of this person is very, very important. And then is outcome, what is the expected outcome? How are you going to track progress? How are you going to say it is not working, right? Or it is working. So thinking on these topics is extremely important. Uh, uh, and getting this clarity upfront is very, very crucial. Give it maybe a conversation or two conversations. But after two conversations, you should be in a position to kind of write down all of this on a piece of paper, right? We can get into this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we are at 11:40 and I want to make this as conversational as possible. So maybe what we can do is you can shoot your questions. I can share some thoughts and then the others can build on it, if that's okay. Yeah, so that is what I had from a presentation standpoint. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on or experiences around what worked for you, what questions you have about mentorship? Or else we can wrap it up. Okay, Deacon, are you there? Thanks a lot, Mayank. Glad you found it useful. Should mentors be given equity? Bhumi, that's a great question. Like I said, I'm not particularly of the opinion that you should give equity to mentors. You should work with them and then you give them an option to invest when the time is right, and be generous with that offer. So you can give them a discounted rate. You can give them, an option to invest a small amount of, small amount of money. But I'm not of the opinion that mentors should be given equity unless there is an outcome associated with it, right? So, for example, I see a lot of people say that, I'll make 5 introductions. Against this, give me equity. Well, what is the point of introductions if that customer is not closed, right? Or that investor is not closed? Because there are many people who are helping raise investments and they charge a fee against it, right? They'll charge anywhere from 1% to 4%. And so what you can say is, well, maybe after the investment, it's going to be a proper deal, right? And so you write that on a piece of paper. But I'm not of the opinion to give equity upfront unless it is proven and there is an outcome based to it. Rajiv says this. Thanks, Prachitas. Glad that you found this knowledgeable. Rajiv says, I had gone for mentorship, but they are more interested in monetary gain at first. How to deal with this scenario? It's a tough one, no doubt. In today, everyone or many people are putting things like I'm a coach, I'm an advisor, I'm an investor on their LinkedIn profiles. I think that's a tough one. What you want to do is, you do want to compensate for the expertise, right? There's nothing wrong if someone comes in and says, "Aap aapka design story, I'll help you with positioning, I'll help you with your designing and branding." And that is going to be a 6-week exercise. It is going to require roughly 30 to 50 hours of work, for example, or 100 hours of work. And so against that, what is it that you can give me, right? And so you'll need to engage with that person more as a consultant. But if someone is providing strategic advice, again, I fall on the part where I say, look, let's have a few conversations, see if this is working, and then put together something that works for you and for me, right? And so there's nothing wrong when a mentor says, let's figure this out, right? And so are you budgeted for it? Or are you expecting sab Gyaan mein fukat hi milna chahiye, right? Why should it be free? If something that's worth paying, I mean, you take online courses today for 50,000 rupees, right? And so you've got certain credibility or value out of it. So why not on this? If you truly believe that person is going to be helping you. So how do you deal with that scenario? Try and get to know the person a little bit more. If that person is extremely money minded, does it follow your way of working, right? Is something that you want to think about. But it's not an easy one, Rajiv. I completely am with you on that. So Pooja says, the importance of market agility in startups and what it does, and what does it really comprise of, unlike agility in software engineering. Startups, I was talking to someone the other day, and there are so many variables in a startup. You're trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to figure out what is it that you are good at, what you're not good at. And so what is this startup? Where does this startup really can make money or can provide value? What should be the product be like? What is the differentiation? What is the pricing? And so there are so many variables and they're moving with time. So it's a very complex game, right? Building a startup. And so unlike in software engineering, it's a little bit more finite and defined, because you have a product roadmap, you have a feature set that you need to build. You by and large know whether the technology is there to build it or not, right? And so you're not trying to catch up to the point where do people want this or not, right? To a large extent. So I'm assuming you're just in a development role and you're building something and the specs are kind of given to you. But if you have to figure out the specs, that's a tough one, right? Because that is dependent on human behavior, which again goes into intangibles. Psychology is important. How do you go about it? I think that is, your mindset is probably the most important. You know, we've moved from an era in the industrial age. It used to be about your physical capabilities. We are in the knowledge era, the era that we are in today. Your mind is the most important weapon, right? So you have to develop your mind. You have to work on your mindset. You have to be agile. You have to be learning. You have to know what you don't know. You have to know what you don't know, right? And so there's a lot that goes in it. And so that is where I feel a lot of the mentors, advisors can help you with it. A coach, I think, it is underplayed in the Indian market. I think there are not enough people who work with coaches, right? And so so think about whether, you know, a lot of people that I interact with, they want the full service of a coach, but they are masking it under a mentor, and they don't even want to pay for it, right? And so please be reasonable. You know, this person is busy. This person is someone hopefully you want to work with, right? Do your due diligence as you would in any case. Who chooses who, mentor or the founder? The founder always chooses the mentor. There are very few people I know who are going and seeking mentees, okay, because they are busy doing something of their own. So, so you know, people who are busy doing something of their own, or are focused on what they have to do, they will actually push you back and say, you know, now probably is not a good time, or I can help you just once, but I can't be your coach, right? I think that's something that you might want to consider. But you know what problem, you should know what problem you have. And so how do you know what problem you have? Once you start building things, once you take an action, you will know what you know and what you don't know and what you need to do. And then you can then say, okay, here's the problem. Let me now get someone's help to help figure it out, right? So figuring out what you don't know is probably the part where this can help you. India needs more efforts to improve mentoring in science and technology. People are not transparent of thoughts. You know, we need more people to share. We need more people to share their experience and be available. But you will be surprised. I'm actually, you know, a lot of people I know, whenever I have sought help of someone, 9 out of 10 times I've got that help. And I think that's a pretty good, it's been pretty good for me. I've been very fortunate to get, you know, today, whenever I have any challenges, I have my group of 4 to 6 people who I go to, who I talk to. I'll pick up the phone, and I've built that relationship because they've seen me follow up with them. So I think that's very important. Thanks, Darshan. It is a pain point being in a startup. Yeah, I mean, you know, so Mark Manson says, you know, choose your struggles, choose the pain. It's easy to say, I want this, I want that. Here's my desire. Here's what I really want. But what is the problem that you are okay with? You know, so for example, getting fit. If you have to get fit, you have to manage your food, you know, how much intake you take. You have to give up on a bunch of things. You have to just do the hard work, you know, those stretches, those 1 hour of workout or running or yoga, whatever it is, right? It takes time. And so I kind of keep saying, you know, are you okay with the downside of this activity that you're going to do. And this I've learned from reading that book, by Mark Manson. So you should definitely take a look at that. How much amount should you pay for different aspects of a startup? This is very subjective. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer. You can approach this by saying, this is what I can afford. Okay. And you can tell the mentor, I don't want it to be free. I want to, compensate you for the help that you are providing me. But this is what I can afford. And be very genuine, because if, we want both sides to be genuine in mentorship, right? Person who is helping because he or she wants to help and be a part of the journey. And see that difference. Mentorship से मिलता क्या है? सबसे ज़्यादा मिलता है fulfillment. If I help you and you go achieve your goals, there is no greater fulfillment than that for me. That is why I do what I do. So, but at the same time, money is an important part. Financial independence is an important part. And so can we be reasonable in a way, right? And then we can just say, this is what I can provide, right? This is what I can afford. And this is what here's from me, here's some money or something from me, right? So that is something you might want to think about. Saurabh, do mentors see certain qualities in mentee before they start mentoring? I don't know about the others, but most of the people who I have worked with and who I try to do is, are they really committed? Do they really want help? Are they going to follow through? Right? They may or may not have clarity, and that's okay. I'm not too concerned about them having clarity or even the results, the outcome of the actions that they take. But are they kind of taking the ownership of this? And are they truly committed to the cause? Because here's one very a person who I admire, and has built multiple businesses. I was talking to him and I asked him, why don't you come and support some of the startups? And his answer was simple. He is like, एक बार आते हैं, फिर उसके बाद कुछ होता नहीं है, मेरे 2 घंटे चले जाते हैं. और वो ऐसे 10 स्टार्टअप्स को मिले तो मेरे 20 घंटे चले गए. उससे अच्छा why don't I sleep or read a book or do something else, right? So what are the qualities that they don't want? Is not having the follow-up, not seeing it through, right? And success and failure, I don't think that's what most mentors would be looking for. I think that's what the mentees or the person who's seeking mentorship should be goal-oriented, achievement-oriented. But you are going to a person to scratch his or her brain, get their experience, which you don't have, or you are on that path to get that experience. So anything that makes it easy. So for example, if I were to climb Mount Everest, I would talk to people who have climbed Mount Everest recently, who face those challenges. I would try and see, were they climbers before? Were they first time climbers? What were the difficulties? What kind of preparation that they did? Right? So I'm trying to figure that out while I try to go on my own journey. I'm going to get a different experience of my own. I'm going to have my own set of challenges. My body is different. My work or my fitness is different. My weather conditions may be different when I'm climbing, right? So it's like that. So we are at 11:53. I don't see any more questions. You guys can connect with me over here. I write and do a lot of podcast around this thing, right? Around the things that we talked about on Dasar. So you'll find a bunch of things over there as well. Do connect with me. If I can be of service to you, please do reach out, and I'll be happy to help. Deacon, thanks a lot for this session. I hope this has been useful.
Yes, Darshan, thank you so much. Thanks to you. Thanks to the participants for such interesting questions. As you know, most of the audience is students and very early stage startups. So I figure that nobody better than you to help them with this mentoring journey. So we really appreciate the time that you've taken to support us today. And for the rest of the audience, thank you so much for supporting us in the 6 weeks of our journey on startup mentorship, right up to incubation, right up to go-to-market strategy, digital, and everything else. We promise to come back to you more with some more exciting content, with some exciting speakers. And Darshan, we would love to have you on board again with us. Maybe we'll have a series of podcasts with you because that is your specialty. Once again, thank you all so much for your time. Please don't forget to fill up the feedback form, and looking forward to meeting all of you again on our platform next month. Thank you.
Thanks all. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.